Welcome to our webinar, Governance, Audit, and Accountability in Malaysia's Islamic Finance Ecosystem, organized by the Center for Applied Research in Islamic Economics and Finance and Department of Economics at Haldun University. Well, this session is part of our Islamic Economics and Finance webinar series, where we try to learn from different country experiences and institutional models in Islamic finance. Today, we're very pleased to focus on, once again, on Malaysia, but from a more specific angle this time. Rather than discussing the general development of Islamic finance in Malaysia, we'll look more closely at governance, audit, assurance, and accountability mechanisms that support the credibility of the Islamic finance ecosystem. So we are definitely honored to host three distinguished academics from Universiti Sains Islam Malaysia. Our first speaker will be dear Professor Zurina Shafii. Professor Zurina is a professor at the Faculty of Economics and Muamalat. Her work covers Shariah compliance, audit, Shariah governance, Islamic accounting, Islamic wealth management, halal management, and professional training in Islamic finance. Her scholarship and practice-oriented contributions are especially valuable for understanding how Shariah governance and assurance can be translated into institutional systems. Our second speaker is Associate Professor Iqmal, Professor Muhammad Iqmal Hisham Kamaruddin. His work focuses on Islamic accounting, Shariah governance, Shariah audit, Islamic finance, Islamic non-profit organizations, and halal management. In today's session, he'll help us think more specifically about Shariah governance and assurance in public trust entities. And our third speaker is Dr. Wanatira Mahyuddin. Dr. Wanatira is a senior lecturer at the Faculty of Economics and Muamalat, working in the areas of Islamic banking and finance, Shariah governance, and Shariah audit. Today, inshallah, she'll bring into discussion the cooperative sector, which is especially important because it connects Islamic finance with community-based institutions, member participation, and grassroots economic activity. Well, inshallah, we'll keep the session in a conventional format. I will first invite each speaker to offer their opening reflections, and then we will continue with guiding questions and discussions. So before I start, I do the very quick opening. Dear colleagues, if you have any comments or questions, or corrections, by all means, always feel free to do so. So that if it's okay, a very good friend and colleague, dear Professor Zurina, perhaps we can begin with you. Since today's theme is governance, audit, and accountability in Malaysia's Islamic finance ecosystem, it would be very helpful if you could first give us the broader picture, the big picture. So from your perspective, how should we understand the evolution of Shariah governance and Shariah assurance in Malaysia? You know, like what makes the Malaysian experience distinctive? And what are the key lessons for those of us trying to understand Islamic finance beyond just products and contracts? Dear Professor, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Fatih, for the introduction. Thank you, Muhammad, our scholar here as well. I'm very happy to be here. And I think this is the second program that you have within this lecture where Prof. Mehmet Asute has delivered the experience in the UK, right?
Yes.
You know, such a, because he's the Hoja and the Sifu for us, then
Yes.
it's a big footstep that we are following here. So yeah, let's us in the conversational format, inshallah, to tell the audience I mean, especially those from Ibn Haldun University, about the Islamic finance, specifically in Shariah governance and audit in Malaysia. What we have done and how the journey has been so far. Okay, Fatih was asking about, if I could share the
Absolutely.
general aspects of the Shariah audit and governance in Malaysia, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's look into the general aspect of it before Dr. Iqmal and Dr. Wan Atira to focus more on the public trust entity as well as in the cooperative movement. So I will look into the ecosystem of Islamic finance itself, and then how the Islamic finance has started in Malaysia from the historical point of view, and then we will look into governance, audit, accountability framework, and what has been done in Malaysia. I mean, don't worry about the number of slides that I have here. I'm gonna skip a lot of slides, just to share the information to the audience. Yeah. Okay. Let's see the ecosystem of what we have in Malaysia. 9.2 trillion market of Shariah compliant assets as in 2024, headed by the Islamic capital market, where we have about 1,000 companies that are listed on Bursa, around about 85%, 86% that are Shariah compliant, and this amount with market capitalization of 4.3 trillion. And public trust entity, the ones that going to be shared a lot more by Dr. Ikmal, are the organizations that are actually government linked. I don't know how is it in Turkey, but then for us, we have government link entity, and along with that, we have the government investment link entity. And these institutions are actually the sovereign funds, act as sovereign fund in Malaysia, like Tabung Haji, which is the pilgrimage fund, the employee provident fund, Khazanah, and so on. And EPF is the employee provident fund, which led the in terms of size of the fund that is Sharia compliant. It's the 12th largest of provident fund in the world, basically. Okay, and we have Islamic financial institutions. Here are the statistics. And with 1.2 trillion altogether, I mean, most of it are the Sharia, Islamic banking statistic, because we have like only 43 billion of fund that is managed by the Takaful operator. And State Islamic Religious Council, I know this is the unique situation in the world where we have 14 states in Malaysia, and every state has its own State Islamic Religious Council. So 14 organization. I'm also shocked at the number here, 1.3 trillion, where most of the assets are basically the real property, land, and so on, of Waqaf asset that are being managed by State Islamic Religious Councils in Malaysia, and the cooperative sector, which is the up and trending institutions that are now offering Islamic finance, Islamic financial services. Okay, so this is the statistic. Why I bring you the statistics is because this is the seriousness of the accountability, the amanah that these institutions are holding, because they are, like I said, government investment linked company, especially, and State Islamic Religious Council. I mean, they are the institutions that are directly managing the public asset, and thus in need of the proper governance and also accountability measures that we argue that could be achieved through the Sharia assurance practices like Sharia review and Sharia audit. Okay, so we like also to report that in terms of the market share, 38% of the global assets, so at the position of a leading position in the world. So there's the need for proper governance and the Sharia assurance. Okay, this is the uh, how to say, more traditional statistics that also, when we are lecturers, we have several drafts, and I don't have the feeling that, I still want to keep this, so to give more information about the state of the size of assets. So yeah, and why we have long history of the establishment of Sharia compliant entities in Malaysia is because of this policy by the Prime Minister, then Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad. the assimilation of Islamic values that was introduced in 1981 along with other policies. Like if you study the policies like that were shocking the Western world, where we have Look East policy in 1982, and then also the Vision 2020 and so on. These are stem basically from this policy of assimilation of Islamic values. And if you see the date, 1981, this is the foundation or legitimacy that is being created in order for the country to have the Islamic banks and also takaful organizations in Malaysia. Because the first Islamic bank is 1983, and after that it's a takaful institution. So it's around this time. And 1981, so like 30 over years that we have, been experiencing and developing these institutions. Okay, when we have the assimilation of Islamic values policy, that is the policy itself. And I heard somewhere, I think Dr. Wan Atira shared me some slides that say that, the good theory or good policy, governance policy doesn't ensure the proper implementation. I mean, that makes sense, right? I mean, we have policy, but then if it's not being reviewed and audited by third party, independent party, then we have the issue of the implementation. So the walk versus the talk of the policy, basically. And because of that, the establishment of institutions, I think we could safely say that for banking sector, it's quite well managed post the issuance of Shariah governance framework back in 2010, where Shariah audit exercise has been made mandatory by the Islamic financial institutions. Then, the accountability is there because last time, when the public, to manage public policy, how public look into this organization as well, they are asking whether the practice of Islamic finance or Islamic banking is really as per according to the principles. And then because of that, Bank Negara step in and say that, oh, these institutions must do the Shariah audit. After long implementation of Islamic Bank in Malaysia, 1983, then the introduction was only in 2010. So you could imagine the gap as well. But then the gap has been closed by the introduction of internal Shariah audit. Then I think 2010 until now is 20 years. Then the other policymakers, we will see later, like public trust entities and cooperative are still, making their ways into the policy making, into making Sharia audit mandatory. And also like in cooperative, later we'll know that it has some initiative, but then we are lagging in terms of the competency or talent in those who are able to do Sharia audit as well. So that was the that is the history of the implementation of Sharia audit back in 2010, specifically for the Islamic banks and takaful operator. This is just to say that, in order to build stakeholder trust, these are the aspects that are needed to be practiced. This is the research by the industry. Then apart from product quality, you could see after that it's the compliance, which include the Sharia review and Sharia audit practices. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's Fatih about how it's come about on the development of Sharia based institutions in Malaysia, not only the Islamic banks, takaful, but also public trust entities, cooperatives, and state Islamic religious council, which forms the basically the practices of Sharia compliant operations in Malaysia. Yeah. So this is okay. I'll continue a little bit on the what's available. I mentioned about the introduction of the Sharia audit practices. This is the one, Bank Negara Malaysia Shariah Governance Policy Document, which come after Shariah Governance Framework. So it evolved into something that becomes the policy. Prior to that, it was the framework, yeah. And to the right, we have GTU in Malay is Garis Takbir Urus, Garis Panduan Takbir Urus, which is the governance framework for the institutions that are managed by our management of can you help me with the full name of JAKIM? The Management of Religious Affairs in Malaysia, which is under the ministry, one of the ministry in Malaysia. And these institutions are managing Islamic-based institutions as well. They collect donations, which manages the activities for Muslims in Malaysia. Thus, the introduction of this governance framework. I don't want to go into the theory because this is part of the research as well. Okay, and after that, we have the Madani policy. If you're following the Malaysia politics with the current administration, the administration introduced the Madani policy, which introduced this, with the vision and also the drivers and the target, where interestingly, we could say that one of the target is the monitoring enabling institutions. And this is something that we think, some, nur at the end of the tunnel. Because remember, I mentioned about the walk and talk just now, about we have the assimilation of Islamic values, and then what about the monitoring policy and the policy for, performance measurement for the implementation of Sharia in the institution. So, this is the current one where we are looking into the monitoring of enabling institutions that I mentioned just now. And I just, obsessed about this, and I screenshot everything on the monitoring of all of the aspects within the Madani. Later, when you have time, I mean, the audience could see on, what are the monitoring that should the stakeholders, especially the regulators, look within these institutions that are managing public fund, basically. Okay, so these are the monitoring activity. And I just take one example of how monitoring I remember I mentioned about State Islamic Religious Council. Kedah is one of the state in the northern area in Malaysia, and it has best practices, I think, where it has this application of zakat on touch, where it bring the quality of traceability, where people pay zakat and how it is being spent. So the traceability you could see in the application. And this is something of a benchmark. If you are in Malaysia, then other state religious council benchmark the practices of Kedah. Oh, by the way, Kedah is the state of Dr. Ikmal.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is also research thing where we within our team we have 5 members head by our Datuk Mustafa and me myself, Dr. Supia, Dr. Nur Azalia, Dr. Ikmal, and Dr. Wan Atirah. I mean, the research basically started prior to the introduction of Shariah governance framework. So prior to 2010. So like we do a lot of things within that institutions that I mentioned, then we try to look into what are the elements within the governance and audit that is important to have the balance and just society. So governance, risk management, and compliance, this is what we found to be the foundation for this, to achieve the balance and just society. And again, we base our work from the Maqasid Shariah, Theory of Development, Ibn Khaldun. I mean, this is the research, foundation for our work today. And for the work, I would like to just highlight, this is for the reading, inshallah. Or probably we come back later on, actually how the ecosystem has been developed from the competency to the compliance and Shariah audit practices. And at the APEC here, the external Shariah audit, um, the practice itself is not yet being formally adopted in Malaysia, unlike, the learners of Islamic finance know that the external Sharia audit is now being practiced for countries that are following the IOF standards. And we have a lot of working papers that promote the external Sharia audit, but we are going towards that. And I will explain later. We will explain later how the external Sharia audit is now being socialized. I mean, it's not there yet. There is no regulation that state that we need to do external, but they are like the light also to that implementation. Okay. This is the one that I mentioned. For those who are interested, the learners who are interested, you could later copy this and watch the issuance of Sharia Audit Guide by the Malaysia Institute of Accountant. This is fresh from the oven, Fatih. Last 2 weeks, the introduction of this Sharia Audit Guide by the Malaysia Institute of Accountant. When we say Malaysia Institute of Accountant, the main stakeholder for the institute are the external auditors. So these Sharia audit guides external auditors, where external auditors audit the Sharia-based institutions that I mentioned, that managing 6.9 trillion assets in Malaysia. So although there were no introduction of any rule by the Ministry of Finance or other regulators, with this Sharia audit guide, then the practice of external Sharia audit now being socialized to the external auditors. So yeah, we see a lot of interest and a lot of interest by the audit firm. Like Haji Hide may comment later also on how this gonna be contributing to the industry. Okay, and these are the content. I wouldn't go into it. This is just for reference. Okay, and part of it are apart from looking at the audit element, we also look into the risk element. It is somewhere here. We identify here the third one, the potential Sharia non-compliance risk in these institutions. I think that is probably one of the good contributions that we have, so that not only auditors will be able to use the guide, but also the reviewers, the risk managers who are managing the institutions that we discussed. Okay. Okay. I think I'm going to continue about this maturity on the Sharia governance and audit for each of the major segment later when Dr. Iqmal and Dr. Wan Atira share to us about the state of the situation of the Sharia governance and audit practices in public trust entities and cooperatives. So, there will be the lending of, the talent and then the maturity, where we kind of would like to look into what our plans to close the loop, basically. I think that's for now.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Professor Zurina. That was an excellent opening. Of course, the floor is yours. So if it's up to dear Dr. Iqmal on public trust entities or whether the cooperative sector, Wanatira. So the floor is yours. Perfect. Thank you so much, by the way. And on Harvey, congratulations on this recent success as well, Professor Zurina.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, inshallah. Inshallah, we're gonna have Dr. Iqmal to share about
Perfect.
the issues in the public trust entities. So
Yes.
I stop share here so that Dr. Ikmal could share his slides. Yeah.
All right. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay. Assalamualaikum. Okay.
Welcome.
Let me share the screen first. Hmm. Can you
Not right now, but it may just come up in a minute. Yes, it's there. Typically takes a bit of
okay.
time. Yes,
All right.
perfect. I can see it. Yes.
Perfect. All right. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay. So thank you to Brother Fatih, to Professor. Sorry for the. Okay. Right. Okay. Maybe I will continue the presentation made by Prof. Zurina. Previously, if I can recall, Prof. Zurina already excellently explained on the background of the Shariah-based institution in Malaysia. Okay, so this is also the sum of the background of the Shariah-based institution in Malaysia. So basically, we can categorize into five main things. First, second, Islamic capital market. The third, the Islamic cooperative. Later on will be shared by Dr. Wan Atirah. And inshallah, today I will share with you guys on the public trust entity as well as public Sharia, or we call it State Islamic Religious Council. Right. Okay. So basically, when we talk about public Sharia-based or Islamic State Religious Council, when we talk about the governance, the Sharia governance, Sharia audit and assurance, based on the previous study, there is no single zakat and wakaf institution which is under the State Islamic Religious Council have a Sharia audit at that time. Okay. But previous study also found that there is a need for Sharia audit, especially to be practices in this institution, because first, as Prof. Zurina mentioned about the scale of public fund managed by this institution, as well as the stakeholders' demands to have assurance on this fund. So this factors becoming the first factor for this institution to implement Sharia audit later on. And the second one will be the public trust entity, like Prof. Zurina mentioned earlier. Basically, public trust entity in Malaysia, we can categorize like government-linked companies, but manage the public fund, such as Tabung Haji, Pilgrim institution. We also have like EPF, Co-op, another kind of EPF, but focus on the public servants, as well as we also have a few sovereign funds by the Malaysian, backed by Malaysian government, like Khazanah, Pemodalan Nasional Berhad, and so on. And some of these institutions getting deposit from the public, while some others manage the fund from the existing capital seat from the government at the establishment earlier. So what we want to say is this all is, we call it as a public fund, and most of it should be on the Sharia basis. Okay. All right. Lately, what I want to share to you, I think maybe this is the latest issue and cases facing in our country, in Malaysia. We kind of having a lot of so-called governance and integrity issue regarding this type of sectors. As you mentioned, if you can see in the slide, starting from 2024, even previously there's still a lot, but I can summarize is the latest 2-3 years back. In 2024 until 2036, recently we have a numbers of cases related to this kind of organization by using the infak, wakaf, sedekah fund and zakat as well. So the question will be, what actually becoming the problem? It is the governance issue that still yet to be settled, or actually it is based on the individual who run this organization. So most likely we need to see back what kind of governance process or practice that still can be enhanced to overcome this kind of issue and cases. But one of our observation, we found that because currently in this organization, there is still a lack of so-called Sharia governance or Sharia audit practices that may become one or one of the alternative. If it can be conducted, it will be a good benchmark, or it's a good practice to overcome this kind of issue or cases. All right.
Dr. Ikmal and
Yes.
the audience, if you look at the cases, Fatih, the bottom cases are 2006, 2026 cases. And look at the magnitude. I mean, here, the magnitude of 230 million, and in hundreds of million. And for background also, I think for the State Islamic Religious Council, I mean, this is for the crowdfunding and non-governmental organization. But for Wakaf Zakat institution, the audit is being conducted by the Jabatan Audit Negara, which is the National Audit Department. Okay, National Audit Department, the practice is it doesn't include the Sharia audit practice within their audit, which is, like they are the auditors, the government auditors are auditing the like conventional institutions. But I mean, by right, I mean, from our engagement with the department, also we're mentioning that there is a need to look into the rights of the asnaf, like the hukuk of the asnaf, and the Sharia requirement to the zakat administration, which is something that is missing at the moment in the audit by the National Audit Department. So I think this is the work also, if you see later, remain the future work that the team is looking into that governance. And Dr. Ikmal is, I mean, his PhD specializes in the Sharia governance, and also you look into the audit aspects in the non-governmental organizations, right? So this includes like big non-governmental organization, the ones who are collecting a donation for Palestine, and also for that basically manages millions of money, hundreds of millions of money. And as mentioned by Dr. Ikmal, there is no policy at the moment that requires this organization to conduct Sharia audit to mitigate these situations. Yeah.
May I ask a very quick question to Professor Zurina, Dr. Ikmal, if I may? I
Yes.
mean, personally, I'm not very familiar with these cases in Malaysia, in the Malaysian context, but just to refer to what Professor Zurina said, are these issues related to Sharia audit or lack or shortcomings of Sharia audit, or are they more kind of a more conventional, let's say, issues with the auditing and monitoring system, or maybe more kind of a general corruption case? Do we see these guys in nice orange t-shirts and all the great cars down there? I mean, again, I'm not personally familiar with all the details of these cases, but is it because of lack of Sharia audit, or is it because of lack of even in the conventional standard practice, if I may ask you so?
Okay. If I can answer, maybe the right answer can be both, because first, unlike other sectors, these non-profit organization sectors in Malaysia especially, we can consider still weak in either Sharia governance or governance itself. Second, despite this sector have some what we call it a loose guideline on the needs for reporting, standard audit procedure, but yet this case still happening. So we believe because apart from this weak in good practices, especially in terms of governance and assurance, we also believe this kind of organization, as they are managing Islamic social funds, which is should be catered under the Sharia-based institution. That's why we also believe, apart from the existing weak in governance practices, they also need to implement like Sharia governance or Sharia audit to enhance the current practice in the sector itself. So I hope that will answer your question, brother.
Thank you. Yeah, you
I
said both.
think
Oh, thank you.
I think one of the aspect that we need to see here is the specific or the unique aspect of the management, like the Sharia aspects of the zakat, as I mentioned, because there are specific requirement that the auditor needs to check on the asnaf's their hak, the hukuk of the asnafs, for instance, because this is not easily understood by the normal auditor. So that is in the case of zakat and wakaf. But for like non-governmental organization, because here can you see this is infaq, as in Arabic infaq, Arabic language infaq, where people give donation, but then I think there's also issues in our administration as well, when the organization is linked to state religious Islamic council, because the organization is managed by the state rather than it's managed at the state level. Remember I mentioned about we have 14 administration, and this specific issue is being monitored at the state level rather than at the federal level. I think we need to look into at that dynamic as well, where we have kind of dichotomy, so that it's not easy to get transparent information, and like in order to audit, because the authority are different authority. One is at the federal level and one is at the state level. So this is, I think, unique that we have. So this buy-in that we have done, alhamdulillah, with the MIA project that I mentioned just now, we bring the State Islamic Religious Council as part of the stakeholders. When we started the project, I was cautioned and I was asked many, many times that, Prof. Zurina, are you sure that you're gonna go like very wide to look into Sharia governance and audit? People do in Islamic financial institutions, but then we doesn't stop here. We look into public trust entity, we look into State Islamic Religious Council, which are basically institutions that also sensitive by the nature of politics as well, and the state administration. But then that's something that I think we need to do at some point of time.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, okay. Maybe I think I can proceed the presentation.
Yes, please.
So basically, when we talk about public Sharia base, so let's talk about the governance structure. Actually, what actually currently happen in Malaysia, as Prof. Zurina mentioned, for state Islamic religious councils, it is under the state jurisdiction. But at the federal level or at the national level, we also have one department who cater and act like as a coordinator among the states. We call it as a Jauhar, or Department of Wakaf, Zakat and Hajj. And through Malaysia Wakaf Foundation, Yayasan Wakaf Malaysia, they also involved in coordinating the Wakaf administration throughout the states in Malaysia. And for each state in Malaysia, under the State Islamic Religious Council, they have zakat and also wakaf institution under them. But practice for each state is different. Some states they have different between zakat collection and also zakat distribution entity, but similar also with the wakaf. But another few of states, they combine this both collection and also distribution under a single entity. So yeah, different governance structure also may lead to the different in terms of the practice, effectiveness, as well as reporting and also assurance process. Okay. Another structure that I would like to highlight here is on the public trust entity. Previously, we talked about State Islamic Religious Council, which is under the state's jurisdiction. While for the public trust entity, we mentioned about the government-linked company and also non-profit organization sector as a whole. It is under the federal level, another level. Okay. Under federal level or under the Malaysian governance, we have a few ministries, as you can see in the slide, and each ministry has its own entities who are established under them, who are currently carrying out on the public fund, or we call it Islamic social finance. So, for instance, under the Ministry of Finance, we have a numbers of government-linked company like EPF, Tabung Haji, PNB, and also sovereign funds. Okay, under the Ministry of Domestic Trade and Cost of Living, we have a Company Commission of Malaysia, and under it, we have a company limited by guarantee, which is one of the non-profit organization entitlement. Okay, under the Prime Minister Department also, we have the Legal Affairs Division, and under this, all the foundations registered in Malaysia is under this department. While
So
the last...
okay, please proceed, Dr. Iqmal.
Okay. Let me finish the last one, and then you can add, Prof. Okay, and the last one will be on the Ministry of the Home Affairs, which is under this ministry we have a registry of society, and under this registry of society, all the non-profit organization, association, or club registered under this entity. So, Prof.
Yeah, so Fateh, as I mentioned, I mean we have state and federal dichotomy, and by the categorization given by Dr. Ikmal here, like we have different organization managed by different department, and we have the I mean the operators have the opportunity to leverage on the differences of the governance practices. So, businessmen, when they see the loops, I mean, the gap, and then they will go and penetrate where that they can be where the governance are loosened, lesser in terms of implementation and so on. For instance, we have a lots of institutions or companies that offer microcredit. Microcredit, I don't know, I mean, later probably you will share the situation in Turkey. I mean, in other countries, basically, it's being governed by central bank, but not in Malaysia, where it is governed by this ministry here in the purple box, Ministry of Domestic Trade and Cost of Living. Then, no, Ministry of Local Government. Is it here, Dr. Ikmal?
Not here.
Not in
Because,
here. So
not
we
yet.
have another department that is regulating the microcredit institution. And these microcredit institution, they could, if they want, claim that they are Shariah compliant and use. I mean, you could imagine how rampant it is, that they could claim and they could practice whatever without the proper governance. So that is one of the issue. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right, okay. Continue a little bit. So this is from the literature review. We can say that in summary, there's a lot of need for Sharia audit for this kind of sector and organizations based on the previous study. All right, maybe I just skip this one. All right, also mentioned in the previous study um, on the need of Sharia audit based on the situation during that times. There are few things or few stages or few aspects that we can focus on when we do the Sharia audit or assurance, especially like on the Sharia audit scopes, on the collection process when we talk about the Islamic social finance, zakat, wakaf, how they collect the money from the public, the distribution process, who is the beneficiaries, who is the who is the what we call it as the beneficiaries and also the stuff the change throughout the distribution process, and also we talk about the Shariah compliant aspects throughout the process, as well as the right of the amil, the one who manage the zakat or the wakaf fund itself lah. Alright. Okay, so I think there's a lot of information here. Maybe I mean all the audience can read it just at a glance. But what I want to say here is there's based on our study on this kind of sectors, we can say that in terms of the Sharia governance practice, still they have a minor or weak practices currently, even in this kind of sector or organization. If we compare like in Islamic banking or Islamic finance, they have a very highly regulated, highly good practices. But in this kind of organization or sectors, the Sharia governance aspect still we consider as a moderate or weak practices. But they have some function like Sharia oversight function. They have Sharia management. They're still in the early process to just establish the function, as well as the Sharia audit function. When based on our engagement, they say that they believe and they believe that there is a need for the Sharia audit function, but they still have lack in terms of talent, lack of capability to start the Sharia audit function at the moment. All right, so this one is on the Sharia audit implementation. I think yes, they give some information on the current practice, what they can do at least based on the existing capabilities. Like they try to find the scope, they try to identify the process that they need to encounter to be included as part of the so-called Sharia governance good practices. And but as Prof. Zurina mentioned earlier, these sectors especially need a very hard focus and also support from many parties, especially for the authorities, from the expert, from the academia, to identify and to solve this kind of issue happening in these sectors. All right. So in terms of Sharia audit implementation, we found that several what we call it issue or cases are happening in these sectors, like incorrect of use Sharia terms, incorrect of using the wakaf fund itself, incorrect determining the suitable wakaf type for specific wakaf project. This one we refer as a wakaf khas. Few distribution expenditure that are inefficient and waste, which is we talk about this all happening because part of it is due to the lack of the Sharia audit implementation itself. So if we have a good or strong Sharia audit practices in these sectors or organization, we believe that this kind of issue or cases may be solved or may be overcome. And also in terms of Sharia audit competency in these sectors, there are some issue that we found, including no exposure on the adequate Sharia audit process, lack of Sharia audit training, and also function related that required Sharia audit training still also in a lack condition, and as well as the management support. I believe this is another most important thing, not only in this sector or organization, but to any organization else, that the management support is important to ensure that they can perform or they can implement Sharia audit practice or process. And in terms of Sharia audit effectiveness, this one also aligned with what Prof. Zurina mentioned earlier, that we in Malaysia currently still in line, or we are going to the external Sharia audit function. But at present, they have like kind of external Sharia audit function, but it is not mandatory at the moment. But voluntarily or on the what we call it on the best practice basis, certain organization has start to implement or view this external Sharia audit function to equip the existing governance ecosystem to promote the best Sharia governance practice. Okay, and for sure, for these sectors, there is a need for the Sharia audit framework and guidelines because we mentioned earlier, they doesn't know the scope, they doesn't know the process, they have lack in terms of competency, talent, and so on. So another thing that crucially need by this sector is the framework and also the guidelines specified for these sectors, which is referred to the Islamic Social Finance Funds. All right, so this is some of the challenges I believe I mentioned earlier: shortage of talents, incomplete informations, the framework, the guideline itself, yeah? And also last but not least on the public skepticism, because as we shared earlier, there are a lot of cases and issues on this organization, but when we talk with these players, they believe that if they can implement Sharia audit practice, it will help them to overcome the public confidence as well as to gain and to enhance the accountability, especially for this organization because they are managing the public fund. So we believe that in the future, inshallah, in Malaysia, we can see that in these sectors, the practice on the Sharia audit will start increasing from time to time, inshallah. So I think this is some recommendation lah based on our finding and so on. I think yeah, the audience can just read it. So maybe I will pass back to Prof. Zurina.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Ikmal. Yeah, when we plan for the session, Fateh, we know that the best person to speak about this, the Sharia governance audit in Shariah, the State Islamic Religious Council, Wakaf and Zakat Institution, and NGO, the foundation and charitable organization is Dr. Ikmal. I mean, apart from his doing research, his PhD research in this area, he also has published quite a lot. I mean, if you later would like to have a look, the audience at the publication, and those are the findings from the papers, 2026, 2025 paper. But one of the things that I would like to highlight, that now the external, I forgot to mention actually, that external Sharia audit is not being made mandatory in any of the Sharia-based sectors. However, I don't know whether however is the good word for it, but then there is provision by the regulator in the Act of Islamic Financial Services Act that say that if the regulator are not satisfied with the internal Sharia audit report, the regulator could request or could require for this institution to be externally audited. So I think this is the wisdom of the regulator. They don't make it compulsory because they're thinking that the talent are not ready, but then they put a provision that in any case that they would like external Sharia audit to be conducted, then they will ask the institution to do so. I mean, whether the external Sharia audit or external audit firm are ready or not, I mean, there must be some institutions that are leading who could do or perform the external Sharia audit. I mean, we have, big audit firms who has audited some takaful operators and Islamic banks. So they do like scope of external Sharia audits as well. So meaning to say that although there is no provision, hard provision on the external Sharia audit, but they are space for that audit to be done by the regulator. And furthermore, this happened several years ago. From my involvement in the Islamic financial services industry, where some organization, in this case, takaful operator, the Sharia committee require for external Sharia audit report to be produced before they will sign the Sharia committee report, the clearance on the Sharia compliance. And I think, this shows that although the regulator, main regulator, do not issue specific requirement,
Mhm.
but if the stakeholders understand their responsibility and see how Sharia audit could enhance the trust of this organization, they could play the role. In this case, the board, the Sharia committee, they could request. And of course, the regulator, I mean, they say the situation is not ready, the industry is not ready, but then they open the space as well. And our Haji Hidir here is the partner for Hidden and Co, who has the experience of auditing several organizations, externally audited. So probably later in the question and answer session, he could share as well his experience. And one more I would like to highlight as well. Like I think the practice of external Sharia audit by the small, medium audit firm in Malaysia, because we have the big organization who are international organization like KPMG, audit. We have the small medium we call it SME, who are registered under the Malaysian Institute of Accountant. And we have a group who are pushing for the Sharia audit to be practiced in the industry. They call themselves as the Association of Malay own audit firm, and they have like 150 members who come together and establish Institute of Sharia Auditor Malaysia. This is another avenue that says that it's the stakeholders' role. I mean, not necessarily the regulator's role to require Sharia audit practice, but then few groups could come together, as in the case of Institute of Sharia Audit Malaysia is being promoted by these institutions who would like to see Sharia audit being practiced in the industry. Yeah, so that I would like to highlight from what Dr. Ikmal has mentioned.
Thank you so much, dear Zurina. Before I believe we move to dear
Yes.
Dr. Wanatira, a very
Yeah.
quick question. You just mentioned, like from the legal perspective, that provision is there, it's part of the law. So that is like the door is kind of it's not locked, the door is unlocked. If the stakeholders, if the industry or the decision makers are willing to do so, they may opt in for an external audit.
Yeah.
How does it typically practice in case of Islamic financial institutions, Islamic banks, for instance? Is it again, is it the same provision? But what is the industry practice? Do they all go for external audit? I assume so, right? I mean, basically all Islamic banks in Malaysia. How does it work for them? And if so, then my question, with all the respect, the follow-up question would be like this: then, in case of the public trust entities, so what seems to be the main major number one issue? That is it a political motive, or is it because the industry is not matured, but industry seems to be already well matured? I mean, we just talking about billions of dollars here, so it's a huge trillions of ringgits and everything. So what seems to be the number one issue? Is it political motive, or if we introduce new external audits and everything, the industry wouldn't grow as much as they wanted to? A very just quick two questions, if I may.
MashaAllah. Fateh, thank you for the question. For the Islamic financial services, which are regulated by Bank Negara, the one that you mentioned, the door is not locked, it's not open, but closed, but without
Okay.
lock. Yeah, so the regulator may require, but from my involvement in the industry, probably later Dr. Wan Atira may share as well, because she's in the Commission for Cooperative. She was in the Commission for Cooperative. I don't know the situation in cooperative, but then in Islamic financial institution and Takaful, there were no such request that has been made by the regulator. I mean, the provision are there, but the door never been opened at the moment by the regulator. But the one that I share, like Sharia Committee, request for it, then they have to respect the Sharia Committee. Then external audit was performed several years by external Sharia audit firm. So, I mean, that is the Islamic financial services industry regulated by Bank Negara. So that is separate regulator from the one that you mentioned, the public trust entity, which are regulated by several regulators,
Yeah.
basically. commission for companies in Malaysia, which is, have more lax practices as compared to central bank. As you know, banking and takaful is a very highly regulated industry. So you could imagine other regulator is kind of behind to kind of make the door unlock even. Yeah, I hope
Okay.
it clears a little bit. Dr. Ikmal, you would like to highlight a little bit? Or Haji? Okay.
Yes,
Ikmal,
I think I'm agree with Prof. Zurina on these matters. But as I mentioned previously, we can see actually from time to time the movement from the practitioner itself on the needs for external Sharia auditor. Because as I mentioned, there's a lot of issue, or we call it challenges faced by this institution, especially in terms of competency, talents, as well as the knowledge gap itself. So they believe but at the same time they believe the needs for the Sharia audit process. So what they need to do is the low hanging fruit that they can do is just outsourcing by having the external Sharia auditor. So that's why we can see some of the industries start to engage with this so-called expert in external Sharia auditor to perform external Sharia audit process in their organization. So maybe I hope from the although from the regulatory side there is no such a mandatory requirement to do so, but the existing regulation as well as guideline does not we call it does not what we call it not does not we call it pull from this institution to get outsourced for external Sharia audit. That's what I want to say lah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Doctor.
Yeah, I think it's time for Dr. Wan Atira to share the Sharia governance and Sharia audit issues in cooperative, which if you look again at the statistic that I've provided, cooperative, we have about 16,000 cooperative in Malaysia. Like, similar to Turkey, where we have, civil society, strong civil society, cooperative is
Yeah.
one of the pillar of the economy, and thus the high number of the cooperative. And we look into the governance issues of the sector. So, فليتفضلي Dr. Wan Atira.
Shukran, Prof. Zurina, for the invitation. Let me share my slides first.
Dr. Wan Atira, I think you spent how many years in the commission for cooperative? Like 2-3 years, right?
No, less than 1 year.
Less than 1 year. It feel long because Dr. Wan Atira was one of our tutor in the faculty. Like, we are waiting for her to come back after her PhD. So I felt like 1 year is like 3 years. Yeah. فليتفضلي.
Yeah, thank you very much, everyone. Mine will be sharing on the Sharia governance and audit for cooperative sector. Bismillah. So this is the scope of discussion for today for cooperative sector. I will start a little bit on the current landscape of Malaysia's cooperative sector, which basically have been introduced by Prof. Zurina earlier. And then will be followed by the fundamental principles of Islamic cooperative, and then brief functions of Suruhanjaya Koperasi Malaysia, SKM, or Cooperative Societies Commissions of Malaysia as regulator for this sector. And then I will move on to the governance and Sharia audit related issues and some conclusion on this Malaysia cooperative sector. So as we know, and as we have listened to the presentation and we observe the statistics, we can understand that cooperative sector also forms the foundational base of Malaysia's Islamic finance ecosystem. And in fact, this cooperative sector has become the major contributions to the economic sector in Malaysia. Yes, as Prof. Zurina has informed just now that we have currently more than 16,000 registered cooperatives with 7.3 million members. Yeah. As for now, we have two cooperative banks in Malaysia, namely the Bank Kerjasama Rakyat Malaysia and also Bank Pertama. These two banks is basically running based on Shariah compliant basis. Yeah? So we can consider them as a full-fledged Islamic banks. And then we have about 500 credit cooperative which running offer credit products including microfinancing products and Arohnu that I will share later on. Okay, in 2022, the statistics has revealed that these financial services, including banking and credit, has considered and has contributed 85% to the revenue of cooperative sector in Malaysia. So they become the largest contributor to the economic sector in the cooperative sector. Okay, I've mentioned just now that we have about 500 credit cooperative in Malaysia. Some of them are offering microfinancing products through Arohnu. Arohnu, we know, also known as Islamic pawnbroking. Yeah? Arohnu and Islamic credit is basically regulated under Suruhanjaya Koperasi Malaysia if they are offered by cooperative. But if the conventional pawnbroking or credit activities like community credit offered by non-cooperative institutions, they are basically regulated under Kementerian Perumahan dan Kajian Tempatan, KPKT.
Yeah, that I
Yeah.
mentioned just now, Fateh, the one that regulate the microcredit. So the Islamic services could also be offered under that regulator.
Yeah, correct. So basically, Arohnu and most of the credit activities registered under SKM that basically offered by a cooperative, we can say that they are conducted on a Shariah basis. Later, I will show you how I can claim that they are mostly conducted on a Shariah basis because there are requirement by the Suruhanjaya Koperasi Malaysia that any cooperative that offer this kind of product, for example, Arohnu and also Islamic credit or financing should be subjected to a guideline, Shariah governance guidelines. Right, because most of the cooperative are moving towards offering Islamic-based products, especially Islamic financing. So, of course, they are also subjected to these principles, just similar to what has been practices in Islamic banking, takaful, and other Islamic financial institutions. So, of course, when they claim they are offering Islamic-based product or they claim they as Islamic cooperative, they should implement or ensure that their activities are riba free, gharar free, free from gambling or maisir, and also does not involve Sharia non-compliance operation and activities. This is a fundamental value in Islamic cooperative. So, a little introduction to the regulator of this sector. I've mentioned just now, we have Malaysia Cooperative Societies Commission of Malaysia, or we call it as Suruhanjaya Koperasi Malaysia, SKM, is an entity that was incorporated earlier back in 2008. Okay, as compared to Kementerian Perumahan dan Kajian Tempatan or Ministry of Housing and Local Government, they have basically a distinct objective and functions in terms of supervising the industry. If you look at the objective, SKM is more focusing on to stimulate the cooperative development for cooperative institutions. But KPKT is responsible to monitor the urban well-being, housing, local government, town planning, as well as money lending activities and pawnbroking. So it's basically regulate companies that is registered under Suruhanjaya Syarikat Malaysia and also those who conduct microcredit business like Prof mentioned just now, including community credit and pawnbroking. In terms of Shariah compliance initiative, we can only observe this initiative by Suruhanjaya Koperasi Malaysia by the issuance of the Shariah Governance Guidelines GP 28 in July 2015. But until today, we cannot see that KPKT issued any Shariah governance guidelines or principles to govern the microcredit business. So basically, they have no Shariah panel or Shariah committee in these microcredit institutions. Okay, moving on to the Shariah governance and audit in Malaysia's cooperative sector. I've mentioned for many times the regulator is the Suruhanjaya Koperasi Malaysia. This regulator has issued a specific guidelines related to Shariah governance. We call it SGP 28, Garis Panduan Tadbir Urus Syariah. I mentioned earlier that I claim that most Ar-Rahnu and credit cooperative can be considered as Shariah compliant based institutions because of this Garis Panduan. This Garis Panduan has mentioned that the applicability of this GP28 is to those cooperative which involve in 4 specific activities. So any cooperative that involve in these 4 activities, they are subject to this guiding document. It includes banking function, credit function, financing, means that if any cooperative offering financing products, they are subject to this GP28, and also cooperative that offer any Ar-Rahnu product, they are subject to this guiding documents. Uniquely about this GP28, they are different from what have been issued by Bank Negara Malaysia, where the requirement under this GP is very limited. There are requirement includes the appointment of Shariah committee, whether it is internal, external or group appointment, and there is also a requirement to appoint Shariah officer in the cooperative that offering banking, credit, financing Ar-Rahnu products, but there is no specific requirement so far to establish Shariah audit functions if we read the GP28. But if we read through the GP28, we can understand that the role of the Shariah audit is taken care by the internal audit department. That is the expectation under this GP28. So the role of audit department is basically including monitoring of the Shariah compliance matters, reporting whatever Shariah non-compliant issues to the Shariah committee, and also they can also report to the Suruhanjaya Koperasi Malaysia. So the role of the Shariah audit has been embedded in the internal audit department, even though there is no specific requirements to appoint Shariah audit officers or to establish a dedicated Shariah audit unit, unlike the Islamic financial institutions regulated under Bank Negara Malaysia. Okay, why we mention that Shariah governance and Shariah audits is so important in cooperative, especially for those running as Islamic cooperative. There are recent issues on cooperative also regarding the the operational, this is actually operational issues of the cooperative. There are corruption in the cooperative, there are misconduct of the cooperative fund and so on. Based on the news, as we observed that most of the issues involve the board of directors that commit the misconduct or fraud in the cooperative because they have the power. Even though the news is not specifically highlight that this is related to Shariah governance or Shariah compliance issue, but we understand that many of the cooperative is owned by Muslim members or Bumi Putra members. So they are basically managing the fund of Muslim. So that's why Shariah governance and Shariah audit issues comes to our attention. So this is some other issues related to corruption with regard to the involvement of the chairman of the cooperative. Okay, this is another issue that involved the board of directors related to property management of one of the cooperative in Malaysia. And then in view of these issues, the SKM, the KUSKOP, the Ministry of Entrepreneur and Cooperative Development, or we call it as KUSKOP, has in the midst of reviewing the act regarding the cooperative to basically strengthening the integrity and governance of the cooperative. So I think this is a good movement from the ministry. This is a top-down approach that can maybe will encourage cooperatives to also strengthening their governance in their cooperative institution. Right. This is some other issues and challenges in Islamic cooperative that we find out from our research. We believe that without a proper Sharia governance implementation, so Islamic cooperative cannot hold the Sharia compliance principles. But they are basically issues and challenges that are faced by Islamic cooperative. Among others, we have here Sharia committee is not functioning well. Okay, there are conflict of interest between the CEO and the Sharia advisors. They also mix up with Sharia terms. This one is just operational issues, but still can lead to reputational risk to the Islamic cooperative. And then some other issues, for example, the general manager claims to be unaware of Sharia issues. This is related to the issues of limited knowledge and competency of those running the cooperative. Staff do not receive sufficient trainings and exposures. There's also other issues in IT operation. I think these are some brief conclusion on the development of Sharia governance and audit in cooperative, where we think that there should be a strengthened effort to strengthen the regulations and also to strengthen the practice in the cooperative institution itself. We hope that with strong regulations, framework and guidelines, we can uphold the Sharia compliance in Islamic cooperative, because we know that currently Islamic credit cooperative or Islamic cooperative is basically is on claim basis. Okay, the cooperative claim that they are running as Islamic cooperative institutions, but actually at regulator level there is no categorization of Islamic or non-Islamic cooperative. Okay, I think this is just some wisdom that I want to bring at the end of my sharing today. Because cooperative is member owned, it is established to benefit the members. It is managed by the members. Okay, so it is basically a trust basis. So we have to safeguard the trust. When trust is preserved, inshallah, cooperative can fulfill their true purpose, basically to not only creating economic value, but also advancing social justice, financial inclusion, and the objective of Sharia, and of course to support the what we have in the Islamic financial industry so far. I think that's all from me. I can pass back to the Prof. Zurina. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wan Atira. Fatih, I think at the end of our presentation, you have learned several Malay words like
Yes, I think I
Suruhanjai.
have. I think we have. Yes, we have to work on them. I mean, yes, but yes, we have. It was a
Yeah.
great experience, Zurina. Thank you.
Like commission is Suruhanjaya, like jabatan is department, those kind of thing. Yeah, so when you are in KL, you know a few words of Malay.
Yeah, inshallah.
So Dr. Wan Atira has highlighted on the state of the Sharia governance and audit, which it's quite different, right, from the
It is.
ones that are being regulated by the central bank, where the GP28, which is the guideline on the Sharia governance, allow for the cooperative to be advised by Sharia committee, either individual, company, or on group basis. Group means that one advisory company or advisory advisory company that like looks into documentation and approve documentations and concepts, they could become the audit party they could advise, so they could act as the Shariah committee or Shariah advisor for the cooperative. And I think this is the similar practice that we have in Thailand. Thailand has plenty of a Muslim community, high number of Muslim community as well. Like a few cooperative will share a board of Shariah committee. I mean, this is um, to serve the different sizes of cooperative. I mean, we cannot have a similar situation or similar regulation as how we regulate Islamic Bank and Takaful. So this is the kind of, the best model, Sharia governance model that we could have at the moment for cooperative. And we have further updates later, inshallah, where we're gonna have the Act for Cooperative Act will be updated to require the practice of Shariah audit, internal, and also the promotion of the external Shariah audit through the introduction. You remember Dr. Wan Atira mentioned that cooperative works on the claim basis. Regulator will come out with the kind of certification to have the component where such cooperative that fit into the component will be kind of given certificate as the Sharia compliant. So, following the model for the Islamic banking license as well. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay,
just
thank you.
mm.
Thank you so much, Professor Zurina. Thank you so much, Dr. Wanatira and Dr. Ikmal. It's very well received. It was definitely like excellent presentations on your end. Thank you so much. Just for a few more minutes, inshallah, if it's okay for discussions. And by the way, also we have our colleague, dear Mahfid, with us. So if you wish, definitely we can have more kind of a contribution on your end too. But very quick question. So what Professor Zurina, if I got it correctly, so again, I'm no expert in the field, I have to confess. So, and please forgive me if I kind of express it incorrectly, but dear Professor Zurina pretty much provided the whole broader framework with the potential requirements of a new architecture, so to say, that will encompass the ecosystem in Malaysia. But then Dr. Ikmal's approach was a bit more the government's involvement, the involvement of, let's say, even like bureaucracy in Sharia auditing, including hiring services from, let's say, external Sharia auditors. Then Dr. Wanatira's approach, of course, focus is pretty much on more like the grassroots level, isn't it? It's the cooperative. That's pretty much where you get closest to the people. So since my personal interest is more about the people and how they take certain aspects of, like religiosity, even like morality, and how they kind of see Sharia and in the sense of everydayness. So if I may ask you, I mean, of course, I kind of feel, again, I'm no expert, but I kind of feel that there must be kind of a significant difference between, let's say, what you have to do in Dr. Ikmal's case, that is introducing new, let's say, Sharia audit councils, unlocking the doors, or opening the already unlocked doors and everything. But now in Dr. Wanatira's case, it's about the people. These are most of the cases, at least in Turkey, that not all of them, but a good number of cooperatives really basically established by the peoples. That's average people themselves, not necessarily professionals. So their take on Sharia compliance might differ from the, let's say, professionals or bureaucrats' take on Sharia compliance in Dr. Ikmal's case. I mean, you hire new bureaucrats, you hire people, you hire the services from external Sharia auditors, and they're all professionals. And even though they may agree or disagree on certain cases, you put them together. Yes, there will be bureaucratic and political difficulties and challenges to overcome, as is usually and all the time the case. But on the grassroots level, it's different. And my question is, Dr. Wanatira, so like, how do Malaysians, part of cooperatives, see it? Is it because typically, even in the case of Turkey, if it's not like a very professional cooperative, people will have someone knowledgeable in deen, let's say in certain aspects of Islam, and that guy would serve, apart from all the legal requirements, that guy or that few guys would serve as pretty much the counselors on religious issues. They will give not official, but let's say informal fatwas. I mean, people will go, Hojam, what do you think? Should we do this? Should we that? Would that be okay if we collect the money like this, or if we distribute the money like that? So in case of Malaysia, I mean, did you have any chance to talk to certain people or representatives in cooperatives, and how do they take it? Do they like to be audited? Do they like to be audited by the government? Either state-based or federal-based, or like new legislations and everything, or are they of the opinion, just leave us alone? I mean, we already know this is our dean, assuming it's a religious or let's say cooperative, not necessarily like a secular one. So my interest is more about that kind of a take on the grassroots level, Dr. Atira. How do people typically see members of cooperatives or beneficiaries of cooperatives? How do they see this lack of Sharia control or audit or accountability? Are they really complaining? Are they saying, "Oh God, oh God, oh Allah"? I mean, see what's happening. We need that kind of. Or is it fault of themselves, the community itself, or is it just lack of some government involvement? How do you have any information on that, if I may ask you? Please don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to come up with like a polemical question, but that's basically where my personal interest lies, I guess.
Yeah, I think you highlight the right concern, where the people basically, many of them are unaware whether the Sharia compliance is in place or not in the cooperative, and whether they are being managed properly according to Sharia principles or not. Because people, it involves a lot of members in the cooperative. So many of them joining the cooperative with limited knowledge of the Sharia compliance and so on. So I think we have one institution called as ICMA, Institute Koperasi Malaysia, that provide education to the management of the cooperative and also the members. So we hope that with aggressive efforts to educate people, the community in the cooperative, they can be more knowledgeable, especially on the Sharia compliance matters.
Okay.
But your concern is right.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Fatih, if I may add,
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Fatih, if I may, it's actually from my own personal experience. I was appointed by this corporation. They claim themselves a Sharia compliant corporation by the name actually. So when I told them I'm going to look into Sharia perspective, he kind of I didn't appoint you to go into the Sharia aspect of it. He said I appoint you to look into the financial aspect of it. So then I told them, I said your name of the cooperative is actually implying that you're a Sharia compliant entity. So I have to actually go through the Sharia compliant aspect of it, those auditable, areas in Sharia perspective. So they didn't like it actually. Then true enough, because when I look into this, there's so many issues actually within the organization actually. So many like like the book, you learn from the university cases, they comply this and that. It's the same actually. I can read the book, they don't actually comply to the Sharia requirements.
Yeah.
So they don't like it actually. Then I got fired after 1 year. That's
So
real story actually.
you're just appointed
Yeah,
for
after 1 year they don't like
1
me.
year. Mm.
Yeah,
So
there's a lot of stories behind.
So it's all the governance issue, Sharia issue. And why do you think that happened? Is it because of the Sharia governance principles itself are not adopted, or is it because
Correct. Definitely a governance itself actually.
of the
Yeah,
board
governance,
awareness?
everybody, yeah. Actually the management and the board is actually, that's the main issue. So like
Yeah.
I always tell my colleague, I say, this, what happened to this cooperative is like one MDB case, what one MDB case, right? This is mini one MDB actually, what's happening in that particular cooperative.
1 MDB, Fateh, is our sovereign fund that was established back then. And the biggest scandal, we could say, that happened to that fund. Then lots of governance issues, and even the implementation of Sharia in terms of the Sharia compliant investment was done inappropriately. I mean, like Haji said, case study on Sharia governance. If there's issues in that governance issue, it will be in this case. So similar to this Islamic cooperative case as well, Haji.
Yeah, Fatih, to add to it, when I was doing the audit, it was like, the trust is a bit, like questioning why I ask so many questions actually, because I want to do all this document and that document, so to the extent that I have to actually wake up in the morning and pray tahajjud and pray, may God, make it easy for me to actually just solve this, the audit for this, At the end of the day, actually, what happened, the cooperative SKM, this Sujan Jaya Koperasi commission, right? The cooperative commission actually fire all of the board of the trustees actually, So that actually relief for me. Then I can actually
Mm.
talk to, and when they pass it over to the other, administrator, then easier for me to talk to them and highlight other issues.
Mm.
And in
Yeah, I
fact, I
didn't
give a
realize.
disclaimer for the report. Yeah.
I didn't realize that was the action by the Commission of Cooperative based on your
Yeah,
audit
it was
fire.
actually. Yeah, it was
Mm.
actually.
Mm. So that is the situation, Fateh. Whether they happy to be audited.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, awareness of the board and the management as well. Because we were in a meeting, me, Dr. Ikmal, and the team yesterday with the Wakaf Corporation of the state of
Okay.
Johor.
Mm.
The management is now would like to look into Sharia audit practice, but
Mm.
the view of the management was that they feel that the Sharia audit is not ready to be practiced
Mm.
because of the
Mm.
awareness of the business units of people
Mm.
who are manning the operation. So I
Mm.
think that is a good leader. Like when they think that the audit is not ready, they not do the audit, but then they empower the business unit to understand on the
Mm.
Sharia requirement, do the training, the engagement, then start to do self-review by their
Mm.
own management, and after that, audit practice will be introduced. So it's like stages of awareness that need to be done. If I mean this, why I highlight this is that the Sharia implementation really depends on the awareness and the willingness of
Mm.
the leader at the organization, the
Mm.
board, and also
Mm.
if we have Sharia committee, then this party will empower the business units, the Sharia review, which is the management review, and after that the Sharia audit practice. If not, nobody would like to be audited
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, it seems so. My final remark regarding this, I think time's pretty much up. Professor Zurina, in case of, in the sense of pushing for it, where is it right now? Where do you think you are right now? Is it still you're lobbying for the political support, or is it you passed the political support? It's pretty much awareness, creation among business units and professionals and bureaucrats, not to
Mm.
mention even some from the population and from the society. Are you still lobbying for the political, let's say, okay, you still are, yes.
Yeah. Just to take that, yes, the plenty of lobbying is needed, especially for the audit aspects in the public trust entities and state Islamic Religious Council. I mean, if you look at the slides here, I've shared the slide. Everyone can see the slides, right? Like the professional practices, like in Islamic financial institution and Islamic capital market, basically with the introduction of the Sharia audit guide, where external auditor could use the Sharia audit guide in order to audit, then pretty much we got the buy-in. But in cooperatives and public trust entities and Islamic Religious Council, I didn't put it in the table. Like because of the different regulator, I mentioned just now about for the Islamic Religious Council, which is the one that manages Wakaf and Zakat, the auditor that audits them is the National Audit Department. And that National Audit Department, we have few engagement, but then there were no take up just yet on, to include the Sharia audit practice at the moment. When I reach out again, then they, I mean, good thing is that they introduced the Islamic accounting and reporting for zakat and wakaf, which is a good way to go. That is, they issue the guideline for accounting and reporting. So they say after the implementation of that guideline, and then they will be actively do their part with regards to Shariah audit. I mean, when I say the buy-in is not there yet, but then yeah, they are. Alhamdulillah, some development.
Yeah,
So
good.
for cooperative, it depends. I mean, we're still waiting for the new Cooperative Act, as I mentioned, where Shariah audit will be made mandatory. Dr. Wan Atirah mentioned that now the function of Shariah audit is being played by internal audit only. So you could imagine if you are internal auditor, you're not properly trained, then how you're gonna conduct the audit? Like Haji, when Haji audit the cooperative sector, then lucky for him that he attended the training that we have offered by the industry in collaboration with USIM. We call it Certified Professional Shariah Auditor. Then from there, we have engagements, and we can always discuss the issues. Meaning to say, even without the regulators' requirement, the industry support of the amongst the practitioners also will mitigate or rectify the issue of the lack of talent in the industry, as highlighted by Dr. Ikmal.
Okay.
So yeah, a lot of lobbying, especially in the area of a public trust entity and a state Islamic religious council. But Alhamdulillah, there are development after
Yeah.
15 years, now like 16 years. That will be the continuous jihad for the team.
Inshallah. Yeah, inshallah. So, all right. If it's again, first of all, please extend my let's say thanks and gratitude to all of the members of our colleagues from dear Professor Zurina. It was again, with all the respect, very much appreciated. It was like a wonderful conversation. I wish I could also, bring in another team of, let's say, experts in the Turkish, let's say, aspects of or the Turkish context. You never know. Inshallah, we may also try to do that some other time. Again, thank you so much, dear Professor Zurina, dear Dr. Manaturia, dear Dr. Ikmal, dear Ustaz Mafiz. We really appreciate your time. It was like a lovely, it was a wonderful conversation. So if you don't have any other comments or questions, since we are pretty much within our time limits now, I guess, I'd like to conclude the session. So what would you say?
Yeah. Just would like to say thank you for the invitation, for the opportunity. To just reflect what you mentioned, like we shared the situation in Malaysia, like for instance, on the non-governmental organization, wakaf and zakat based, and then it's not only interesting to know about how Turkish situation is, like it's I think vital for us to learn best practices for us to improve as well. So inshallah, we pray for the session.
Inshallah. So
The session happen. Thank you very much, Fatih.
my pleasure. So thank you all. Juma Mubarak and Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.